My dad cheated on my mom and wants to marry his mistress. My 14 meters mom and dad 42F and 47 meters have been together for 20 years. Together they have me and my sisters 16F and 7F. My dad had been coming home late and my mom became suspicious and she found out that he has been cheating on her with his co-worker Shelley 34F. My mom filed for divorce and my dad got kicked out. This was all 2 months ago and now they are nearly done with the divorce. My dad has tried to repair me and my siblings' relationship with him, but it won't work. I hate him for breaking up our family, and on top of that tried to get me and my older sister to come and spend time with him and his mistress. I love my dad but I just can't seem to forgive him. Now he's trying to get partial custody of me and my older sister as he already has 50-50 custody of my younger sister. She doesn't know why our parents got divorced and whenever she comes home she asks me if I'm going to visit daddy soon. I've been thinking about visiting my dad just for my little sister's sake, but I don't think I can handle being around him. He's recently sent out a message to everyone saying how he proposed to his mistress and would love it if me and my older sister came to the wedding because he loves us and misses us so much. I don't know how to feel anymore. My mom has been begging me and my sister to forgive him, saying that he's still our dad and loves us. Me and my sister are conflicted and need advice. Please help us. Story 2, how suspicious would this make you? My wife 50F, and I 57 meters have been married for 4 years now. We met as a SDSB, and moved quickly to a vanilla relationship. She has always been a little closed off about her time as an SB. She has been adamant that she never cheated in her past relationships, but she has also told me that she never slept with married men as a SB, and I have found ample evidence to refute that statement. This happened a while ago and I have been wondering what others might think. My wife travels when she works. She only does this a few times a year. So she took a trip about 1,000 miles away from where we live to work an event. While staying there she told me on a phone call that she was going to dinner with an old friend that had a daughter she knew as well, and they lived in this city and she wanted to catch up. There was no name given or any explanation of how she knew this old friend. The next day she told me when I asked about her dinner with her old friend that it did not happen, as he was at his house about 60 miles from where we live. When she told me this, I remembered that I knew someone who fit that description. Early on in our relationship, she had left her email open on our computer while she was away, and curiosity got the better of me and I looked through it. There was nothing bad in it, but it did hold a great deal of correspondence from her former time as a SB. There was a folder with a man's name on it. In it was her emails with him when he was her SD. Not a problem for me as all of this was before me, but out of curiosity I stalked him on Facebook. He had a business that was centered in both towns. The one she was currently in and the one she said her old friend was in that night. He also has a daughter. I believe this former SD was her old friend that she did not identify. My question is, how suspicious would this make you if this happened to you? I also need to add that at this time we were not having time due to her saying her libido was low, yet she masturbated regularly during this time. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1, you can be a sugar baby at 50. Damn. I thought I was too old. Redditor 2, if I were you, I would walk away from this relationship. She's not for you. Redditor 3, what is SDSB? Redditor follow-up, why does every friggin' post have to have abbreviations? Is it so damn hard to type out the words with that little phone keyboard? Stop being so damn lazy. Update, more suspicious things. I posted last week about my wife having a suspicious dinner date while traveling for work. I really appreciated all the input. But there are several other incidents over our marriage that are the reason I have become so suspicious and have developed so much trust issues with her. I will lay them out here and welcome your thoughts. My wife has maintained since I met her that she has never cheated ever. I myself cheated on my first wife after an extended dead bedroom, and I told my wife about this up front. For the first 3 years of our relationship I believed her. She was cheated on during an engagement 6 years before I met her, and she told me how devastating it was for her. When we were dating, she told a story about co-owning a business for just a few months before selling it. Her and her co-owner had a couple of drinks together in the business and he made a pass at her that she did not refuse. This led to kissing, rubbing and clothes loosened. She told me it stopped just short of time. She was always a little vague about when she owned this business, but I had always assumed it was after her divorce from her first husband and before the guy who cheated on her. I never gave it much thought until I realized she moved in with the guy who cheated on her during her divorce. Then I discovered that the business reopened after she sold it 2 full years before she filed for divorce, so her story had to have taken place before that. That would be cheating in my book. The next incident occurred about 6 months into our marriage. She travels for work and never gave me her flight info. While away on a trip, she told me she would be back in town at a certain time. She sent me a screenshot of her messages to show me something else, but also on it was a text from the airline with her flight number. So on a whim I looked it up. It came in about 3 hours before she said it would. I asked her that night about why she lied and where she was during that time. She exploded at me. Said I was accusing her of cheating and yelled for over an hour about how if she wanted to have time with someone else she would have time with someone else. She did say she was meeting with a client for work during that time, but then why would she need to lie? Next up was an incident while I was working away and would spend the week working and come home. This day they messed up my hotel reservation, and I decided to drive home. It was only 2 hours drive. She texted me about that same time that her best friend had dinner reservations and the other couple had backed out, so her friend invited her and a single guy they both knew to fill in. I will admit this made me feel uncomfortable. He is her type physically, and is a well-to-do divorce attorney who has made comments to her about how attractive she is. So I told her that I was on my way home. She began to tell me it was stupid and that I should just find another hotel. I declined and she became more and more insistent that I stay until I asked her why it was bothering her so much that I was coming home. She then backed off and said she was still going to dinner and would see me later. When she got home she was stunning. Makeup done, hair done, and in a nice dress. To put this in context, we have gone to this restaurant several times and she always goes in pigtails, no makeup and leggings and a hoodie. Next up is last year she traveled for an event she was working. She told me that it was so hot that she had to sneak off and get 4 fluids one day. She told me she went to a hospital to have this done. At the end of the event she had me text her boss that she had to have the 4th fluids. When she got home I unloaded her car for her. One thing I noticed was that there were no discharge papers in the visor. Like clockwork she always puts her discharge papers in the visor. Between this and having me text her boss my radar was up. Then she started trying to hide who was liking her Facebook posts with an explanation that made no sense. When that failed, all her recent posts disappeared for a week. Her explanation of that was that she had no idea how it happened. With my radar up I did something I am not proud of. I called all the hospitals in the area asking for a bill. I gave every iteration of her name and they looked at every day of the event. There was no record of a visit by her. I know her boss is a no-nonsense guy and would not support anything underhanded. I feel the whole Four Fluids story was to cover an absence from the event. One other thing from this story: at the time she was doing Facebook searches of a former lover and his wife. He lives about an hour and a half from the event. So no smoking gun, but a lot to think about. Sorry this was so long. But I think I just needed to voice my suspicions and get some feedback. What do you think? Redditor's reactions. Story 2 after. Redditor 1. Why are you with this bitch? She sounds like a terrible person. Op answer. I have asked myself that several times now. I guess it is just when things are good they are really good. I also feel the need to have proof. I am an overthinker by nature and it has sometimes led me astray and made things worse in my mind than they are. Redditor 2. What I read here is lies after lies after lies, and her not wanting you to be with her when your hotel reservations got cancelled. Oh, and also herself dolling herself up for others but not for you. Have I forgotten something? How does the old saying go? If it walks like a duck, quakes like a duck and swims like a duck, then it is a duck. The premise is very simple here. Your wife has a ton of options to reassure you and to show you that you are all that she wants. What she does here is the exact opposite of it. So she either wants you to be suspicious and to think that she is cheating, or she is doing it. Op answer. Thank you. I am an overthinker and I struggle with wondering if I am overplaying these things in my head and making more out of things than there is. Redditor 3. OMG. Every post on this sub is exactly the same. You and PPN know the answers to your own damn questions. She has cheated on you multiple times. She gaslights you into thinking you are asking dumb questions and making wrong assumptions of her. Stay with her, things are bound to only get better. Redditor follow-up. Yeah, but if they actually found some self-respect, this sub would have the sound of crickets when you click on it. Story 2, me 34M with my wife 32F of 5 years. I know she's cheating on me, I can't bring myself to confront her. I 34 meters met my wife 32F 7 years ago at a party. She was the out of your league girl no one hit on, and I was the awkward boy in the corner trying to not stare. Eventually she was introduced to me by the host, we bonded over a shared love of darts, went on a few dozen platonic outings together, and after one beer and darts-filled night a year later we wound up in her bed and in a relationship. A year later she proposed to me. She's the power person in our relationship. I am working as a chocolatier. She's a vice president in a larger corporation. She works long days and longer nights. I cook and keep the house clean, and work 5 days a week in a small artisanal shop downtown. We're pretty high-end, so I am making good money, but she's making way more than twice of my salary. So she buys the toys for the house, including a new set-top box for the TV. The set-top box has a screensaver mode where it rotates pictures in your Apple photo library. Last week, she was still at work. I came home from my day and the TV, which I'd used to watch a YouTube video that morning and definitely had turned off, was on screensaver. On it were pictures that must come from her phone, showing her, in our living room, one of our female friends, and a guy I've never met in very explicit poses. The pictures moved around the room, so I think there must have been a fourth person, taking pictures with her phone, but I didn't see that person. What was weird, was that she was wearing a bandage on her hand, something she'd done that morning after complaining about RSI. I left the TV on and was very shocked, but decided to leave the screensaver and see what she had to say when she came home later that evening. When she came home, the pictures seemed to have disappeared. They haven't shown up anymore since then on the TV. I asked her if she'd been home during the day, because the TV was on, and she said she'd come home during lunch to pick up a USB stick she'd forgotten in her computer at home. I tried to ask her about the pictures, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. Now, I have to add something. I am not a very experienced person in S-time matters. I am an introvert and barely had relationships before her. Our S-time life is, though, even for my experiences, very vanilla. I never have had OL S-time in my life before and only twice since we met. Suggesting it to her usually meant that she'd lecture me about not doing those things, and S-time for the night was a no-go. In those pictures she did all the things she never wanted to do with me. Since that day I have tried to confront her a number of times. She stays out longer, lately, not just since last week, for the past 4 months maybe, and she's often too tired for anything romantic, even just cuddling, and when she comes home she often disappears in her office and comes to bed long after I have fallen asleep. But even during the time we had together, like this weekend, I can't bring myself to confront her. I am worried about what I might hear and what this would mean for our relationship. I still love her very much and can't imagine a life without her. How can I summon the courage to do this? Is there a way out of this? Update me 34M with my wife 32F of 5 years. I know she's cheating on me. I can't bring myself to confront her. So, lots to tell. First off, however, a few things. Before I wrote this, I didn't know what a red pill was. Now I do. I kind of wish I didn't, but a few dozen messages kind of made that happen. You know those debt solution letters you get when you're known to the county to owe money? That's how those things came in. Fast and furious. Some others assumed that my throwaway having the word red in it meant that I was a sock puppet for them. I am not. I don't think they've got a solution that isn't worse than the problem it pretends to fix. Well, what happened? I left the house that evening for a walk. She wasn't home and called around for lawyers. It was pretty late already and I got a lot of voicemail, but one picked up. She asked me to get Mount financial statements and a lot of other things together and see her the next morning. I then decided to confront my wife that evening. That didn't happen. She came home very late and disappeared to take a bath almost right away. I snuck into her office, and took her phone out from her purse. It had a fingerprint scanner, but her PIN was the same as she uses for the garage and our safe, which she set up, so that was easy. There was nothing on the phone that I could find. Pictures in Apple Photos and Google Photos were all from things we'd done together and some for her job. No messages or so, either. Just as I wanted to put the phone back, her bag buzzed. She has another phone? That one is an Android and had a pattern, so I couldn't log in. But on the screen was a message, phone number only, no name, with a 3 on it. Put that back. Decided to postpone confrontation until after lawyer, but took a photo of the message. Next morning I talked to the lawyer and she spent about half an hour to just go over possible outcomes and what I can expect next, then another 45 minutes talking about finances and so. We don't have kids and she's the big earner, so I stand to either be just out of the relationship or be out and owed some money. It'll be months, maybe even more than a year, until all this is dealt with. Takes 5 minutes to marry, a year to unmarry, it seems. I'd walked by my work and told boss and I was sick. I look like Esset, from not sleeping and some crying, So that was pretty convincing. We work in food, being sick is a bad idea at that job. Went home and unplugged the Apple TV and took it to a friend who runs a small computer store. He confirmed what you'd told me, the pictures on the screensaver are from her Apple photos. He's also the first I told, and he immediately offered me to stay at his place with his wife and kids if I had to leave for a while. Then he called the number the text on my wife's other phone came from and told me a guy named Rob had answered it. Walked home and texted her if she'd be home for dinner. She texted back that she'd have to do some extra work and it could be late, so I told her to please make an exception and come home. I had important news. We'd been looking for a house for a while. I figured she'd think I finally found one. Well, dinner came and went, and she didn't show. She came home around 10, smelling of cigarettes. She was all happy and asked me what I wanted to talk about, so I asked her to sit down. I'm 99% to making something up about a house and avoid the confrontation, but then, I guess for the first time, I felt a little anger. So I told her. I said, I know you've been cheating for a while now. I've been working with an attorney and we'll have to talk about these things at some point, so now is as bad a time for that as ever. She didn't blow up and deny it. She just deflated and started to shake. A lot of your PMs, my attorney, and my friend, all told me not to press for details, and not put that on me as well. But I really wanted to know, so I said, tell me about Rob. She told me they'd met through and the friend on the couch with her and wanted to have time with him, while he had a crush on my wife, so they hatched this Foursome plan. That was 14 months ago. Apparently they've since included Rob's wife, that's the mysterious fourth person who took the pictures, who is polyamorous with that Rob guy. The picture thing was solved, too. She'd handed the wife her phone to take a few pictures and didn't remember the whole screen blanker thing. When she was at work, she'd uploaded them and deleted them from the phone. By then, by chance, I'd seen them. She had the second phone for precisely the reasons I thought, as one that isn't on our shared contract where I couldn't see the incoming and outgoing calls in my statement. She also had short affairs with other women and a few men, and most of her weekend work things were actually her and Rob going on short trips together. Through all this, it felt like she was giving me as much detail as she could in an effort to hurt me, and it worked, but I think I kept a pretty good poker face. I told her that I would leave the house, that I had photographed and catalogued everything and was hoping for an amicable separation. She simply declined, told me she'd leave and take a hotel for the time being, and put her keys on the table. She packed a few things and left. That was it. As this one guy you just says, it was like the dentist, it hurt less than I thought it would but still hurt damn much. Today I have about 15 missed calls from her and 150 plus messages, all asking me for forgiveness and if we could make it work again. I agreed to meet her next week, but only to divide our possessions. As far as I am concerned, this is over. Except for my one friend, no one knows yet, and I want to wait with making it public knowledge while I sort my stuff here and decide how I go from here. Might actually be hitting the gym, no intentions for a rebound relationship, and the rest we'll see. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, we work in food. You work in chocolate. Don't short sell it by saying food. Lol. Sounds like your wife knows she ducked up and feels bad about it, but don't give in. She clearly didn't feel bad about it when she was having time with all those people. Good on you for standing up for yourself and doing what you had to. May you emotionally recover swiftly and your next relationship be excellent. Redditor follow-up, she didn't feel bad about doing it. She's been doing it for over a year. She feels bad because she got caught. She threw out all that shit she did to opt to hurt him and make him feel badly about himself. If she actually felt sorry, she would have stopped after the first time and told him. Not gone to the point where she bought another phones. For God's sakes, the amount that went into cheating proves what a piece of shit she is. I just feel so bad for God. I can't imagine going through that. Redditor 2, hey, I'm sorry. This crap hurts no matter who you are. I hope you all the best. Remember to talk to your friends and explain that you guys are getting a divorce. Tell them as much or as little as you want to, but build a support network for yourself. You may not feel that you need it now, but one day reality will hit and it will hurt bad. It's always good to have that one friend you know will pick up at 2 a.m. and just listen. Internet hugs, it will get better. You will find someone one day who will blow your ex out of the water and make you wonder why you spent so much time with someone who couldn't make you a priority. Redditor follow-up, agree. Also, don't feel like you owe anything to her. You don't have to pretend or lie to salvage her image. She is a cheater and she is the one that will come out looking bad if the truth comes out, not you. Let her deal with the consequences of her actions. Hugs up. Wish YOU the best.